Can you just talk about what's happening in your business, like what you have to make more of, what you have to make less of, and kind of where the problems lie?
Hey, good morning, Alex. Thanks for having me on. It's good to be with you again. Our plants, thanks to the courage and commitment of our employees, are running full out. And you just mentioned meat. And the fact is, we're shifting more to retail from food service because many restaurants and bars are closing down. So the fact is, we're still making the same products that we've always made, but as I said, we're running at full capacity, and it's going more to retail than food service at this point in time.
How does that impact you? I mean, are you making up in volume for retail stores in the same that you're losing in restaurants, or is it a different business proposition for you now?
Well, I think it's more about where it goes. So the volumes are still the same. And the fact is, as I mentioned, because of the shift more towards retail, where the demand has been significant. In fact, some of our retail customers have reported that demand is greater than it is at the holiday times, and really it's demand being pulled forward as people stock up to put food into their refrigerators and freezers for future use. But the volumes coming out of the plants are still the same. And one statistic, which I found very interesting, based on per capita meat consumption in the United States, one of our beef plants feeds 22 million people per day. So it's vital that these plants stay open, and we are so grateful to our employees that are coming to work every day to keep the food being produced.
So the plants are open, but can you give us some insight into logistics, like ports, how you transport? Are there any bottlenecks that you're experiencing right now?
So far, we've not seen those bottlenecks around the world. We've been able to stay in operation. So we have about 1,200 locations worldwide. Only 7 have closed, and most of those are either small offices or small locations. But the fact is, we rely, like everybody else does that are in essential industries, on transportation systems, barges, ships, trucks, and rail. So far, we've been able to get access to those forms of transportation to get food from our plants to where it's needed and to where the consumers can purchase it.
If you were going to experience problems, where would it be? Like, what areas do you need to really target to make sure they're running?
Well, I think the health and welfare of our employees, both their physical as well as their mental health, and ensuring that they can get to work. And we have been working very closely with state governments, with regional governments, that as shelter-in-place orders have been given, they've declared the production of food to be essential. And so that has allowed our employees to get to the plants to help us make the food. I think we've been in close touch with other transportation logistic companies. The freight is moving. The freight is available. So I think the thing that we're focusing on the most in our operations around the world is our employees' safety, making sure that they can get to work and that they're not prohibited by either local edict or by some breakdown in their own local transportation systems.
So can you give me some insight into that in terms of your workforce, in terms of do you have to hire more people? We've heard things like that from Target, say Walmart, for example. And if the ones that you do you have to wind up paying them more to be there? How do you see it?
Well, we have been able to run. There are some sporadic incidences of absenteeism, and so either if that occurs in large numbers, we'll have to run either slower shifts or fewer shifts. But the fact is, so far so good, and it's still early days, obviously. But at this point, we've not had to hire additional employees, but we certainly are keeping a careful eye on that. We have announced that we have created some incentive pay in our beef business, and we're looking at all our businesses around the world for what we can do to really, it's a form of recognition to say, we so greatly appreciate our employees in the plants, and we want to make sure they know they are supported and that they are physically safe to be there every day.
Can you give us some insight into China? The news overnight was that Wuhan is opening up after the first virus hit in December. As the rest of the world sort of powers down, you have such a unique view and sort of looking at all the different countries. Can you give me some insight into what happened in China and then the pickup now versus what we're seeing in the U.S.?
Well, it's interesting you asked that question because the head of our Chinese business was sending out weekly or bi-weekly emails to us as the crisis in China unfolded, the COVID crisis unfolded. 3 days ago, he sent an email saying, this is my last update, that our businesses are up and running. We have about 25 locations in China, about 12,000 employees. We had no outbreaks. We had none of our employees, were confirmed positive. But the fact is, things moved very quickly. And he did a little section on what lessons did they learn in China, and how is it that they're able to get back up and running so quickly. Social distancing, keeping 6 foot distance or more, quick cessation of domestic and international travel, and of course things like washing hands, taking temperatures. But I think the speed with which the Chinese government reacted and the Chinese communities, and let's remember, they've been through this before. Certainly there was SARS about 20 years ago, and there's been other outbreaks, so they were used to this. And I think it's being shown that it paid off in the form of their economy getting back up and running.